What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In today's video, I'm talking about Scream 2, the sequel to the 1996 horror hit Scream. Now, Scream 2 is directed by Wes Craven and is written by Kevin Williamson and stars David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jamie Kennedy, Laurie Metcalf, Jerry O'Connell, Jada Pinkett, and Liev Schreiber. Now, Scream 2 takes place 1 year after the events of the first film. This time around, we find Sidney Prescott and other Woodsbury survivors trying to survive a copycat killer using the disguise of Ghostface. So while, everybody is survived the first movie, those certain main characters, they're trying to survive a copycat killer. And this goes to a callback of those cliches of movie sequels and horror sequels where even though it's been done before, it's happening again, but in a different way. Now, while its predecessor, Scream 2, combines the violence and slasher genre with elements of comedy this time and whodunit, and it's the cliche of those movie sequels, like, okay, what could happen if the killer came back? Now, the interesting thing about this is that this movie came out exactly almost 1 year later to the day. This movie was released on December 12th, 1997. It has a running time of 120 minutes. The budget was $24 million, and it grossed $172.4 million at the box office. So as you see, all of a sudden, this movie the first Scream was released December 20th, 1996. The box office numbers kept coming in. The studio greenlit a sequel, and within that year, the following year, a sequel came out. How quick of a turnaround is that? It's insane, isn't it? It's crazy to think. Now, here's the thing that I liked about this movie. It takes the cliches of the sequels in any horror movie and it turns it around. Because you think this one person is the killer, then it's not, then it's the other person. And basically the tagline of this Scream 2 is, someone has taken their love of sequels one step too far. So it's a play on words, it's the sequel, and Neve Campbell is, fantastic in this role. She was made to play Sidney Prescott. David Arquette is great. Courtney Cox is great. And you see certain characters from the first movie return. And when they return, you're like, okay, they survive. But then something else happens. So basically the way this sequel came about was that Kevin Williamson developed the 2 5-page treatments for potential sequels following the release of Scream. Williamson would confirm that he had considered a sequel concept where the character of Sidney Prescott would now be attending college and a copycat Ghostface killer would start a new series of murders. And, going off of that. So the interesting factor is that while that kind of does happen in the events of this movie, this storyline has a movie within a movie. Now, the events of the first film are actually, made fun of in this movie as a movie called Stab is made, which is a film based off the events of the first movie. And it's just interesting to see how things are done. And listen, let me say that the twist ending in this was different. You didn't expect who the killer would be. And when it was who this person was, and the reason that they were doing these killings was because of revenge of what Sidney did in the first movie. Listen, this works because it was a year apart. If you made the first movie in 1996 and you waited maybe until 1999 to release the sequel, the effect and the ending of this movie, Scream 2, would not have been felt like it did when, we first saw it for the first time. And basically that's what the sequel is. The sequel is a revenge kind of movie. And if you've seen this movie, and I know many of you have, you know exactly the twist and the character that I'm talking about. Like I said in my previous episodes that I do the Marchio podcast, I don't want to give away spoilers because that's not how I work. I want to give that anticipation of you watching the movie and feeling that energy and feeling that, like, holy shit, this is what's happening. Because I'm pretty sure not many have seen the Scream movies at all or what's going on in the Scream franchise. And with Wes Craven coming back as director and with Kevin Williamson writing it, this works even better because you don't get that many movie sequels where you have the director, the writer, and some of the original cast from the first movie returning into the sequel. The only problem I have with this movie is how the kills are done. They're not look like they're, just written so quickly that they do what they executed and that's it. Of course, it's, the knife sound and then the stabbing and then that's it, and you're dead. There are some unique kills in this, but nothing that actually stands out, nothing actually that's actually good. And when you find out what happens with the twist and this one character that comes back for revenge, you find out like, wow, can that actually really happen? Because I guess for this 1 year, this one person was looking for Sydney this whole time. And it's fun, it's interesting, but it could have been executed in a different manner, in a different way. But I like how it was done. Listen, this movie gained a cult following as well. And Scream 1 is known as the best original idea for a horror movie, while Scream 2 was a very close second. And like I said, if you released these movies 3 years apart instead of 1 year apart, it probably would not have done as well as it did. And the numbers show it, and the people going out to see it showed it, and it was done so well. I love the characters in this. I love the directing Wes Craven did, and Wes Craven throwing in certain things from the first movie that you have to actually pay attention to, and Kevin Williamson also did that as well. So like I said, when you have director Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson as the writer coming back, it's going to be a fantastic sequel and a movie that was done right and it was done perfectly. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about Scream 2, and do you think it was a better movie than the first Scream movie? And if you've checked it out, and if you will be checking it out now that I've talked about it, and also, do you see Scream 2 being the sequel of sequels of horror movies, meaning that do you think it's the best horror movie sequel out there? If not, what horror movie sequel do you think is the best? Let me know in the comment section below. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Marchio podcast, where I talk about Scream 3. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. Alright everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.